Hey guys, Lunar Spiral 1127 here, bringing you Naruto's chapter 587 at 9. So in this week's chapter, we get to learn a little bit more about Izanami and how it works. But we also learn that Itachi used Izanami ever since Kabuchimaru stabbed him. So 7 chapters ago, Izanami has been activated. Yeah. For some reason, this doesn't irk me as much as, the Sasuke and Itachi fight, where the first half of the fight was nothing but a genjutsu. But whatever. Anyway, we learn about how Izanami works, and that it uses the senses of oneself and the opponents. We get this a little bit of a brief explanation and a lot of diagrams. They seem a bit complicated at first, but once you read it, and you'll be able to understand it. So Itachi says that the eye is like a camera. It takes the bodily sensation is memorized using the eyes and is replicated, and Izanami apparently connects both the copy and the original of the bodily sensation, and also connects the time between those two. And because of that, it creates an infinite time loop. And just like Izanagi, it also the risk is losing your eyesight. We also learned a bit more about the origins of Izanami, that it was used to punish and save the users who used Izanagi. As we already know about Izanagi, it has been used to alter reality in a way, to change destiny. The Uchihas who use the Izanagi, they apparently become, not only they lose their eyesight, but they also become more arrogant and always use them against each other. But Izanami was created to stop Izanagi. No matter how many times you use Izanagi, the user will always be cast in the time loop of Izanami. But we also learn that there is a way to escape Izanami, and that is to acknowledge the results in the time loop and also to stop trying to run away. Only then is when the jutsu will deactivate. So in the case of Kabuchimaru, unless he acknowledges his true self and accepts the fact that he's becoming someone that he's not, that is when he escapes. And apparently, Itachi also started to feel sorry for Kabuchimaru, because they both deceived themselves. Itachi's case, he stopped trusting other people, and in Kabuto's case, he convinced that all the powers that he absorbed were his own. Sound 5, Kain, Jugo, Suigetsu, even Orochimaru. And I gotta agree with Itachi on this one. Kabuchimaru, using his own, just absorbed all these powers from previous characters and tried to make it his own power, but it technically is not his own power. It's not his own abilities. He's just more of a hybrid of all these powers. It's not his own. He also doesn't even blame him for what he's doing, even if it was wrong. And he wants to help Kabuchimaru realize all this before he dies. So apparently this is foreshadowing that Kabuchimaru may die. When? It could be next week's chapter or the week afterwards. Who knows? But Sasuke, he just doesn't understand why Itachi feels sorry for someone like him. And he says that Itachi is perfect. Now, Itachi may be a pretty cool Uchiha, but he is not perfect. Don't get me wrong. Itachi was one of the few Uchihas I've ever liked, but he wasn't even perfect. He even told Sasuke he thought he treated Sasuke more like a child and wanted to protect him, and plus he went as far as to use the Kotoa Amatsukami to control him. For those of you who don't know, that was the genjutsu that the Sharingan that Shisui's eye had in the Crow way back when Itachi and Pain fought against Naruto and Killer Bee. Itachi then also says that he wants Sasuke to find what he didn't have, and that he was not perfect. But then we cut back to the Izanami time loop. Kabuchimaru is still fighting against fake Itachi and fake Sasuke. He's still in denial about everything, and he still thinks that he is perfect. Itachi's still telling him, if he wants to escape this loop, acknowledge your mistakes. But Kabuchimaru's just like, shut up. So Itachi uses his Sharingan to use the Suiton Tsuryudan no Jutsu to wash away Kabuchimaru. But then right after that, Kabuchimaru is trying to thought back from everything, from his childhood to his current state now, to think of what mistakes he did. And the reason, we also kind of learned the reason why he did all of this. He just wanted someone to acknowledge him, to notice him. So he did all that just, join Orochimaru. I can understand why, because he thought Orochimaru acknowledged him, of course, but joining Toby, absorbing all these powers just to be acknowledged, but then we cut back to reality, and Itachi's just saying that, I don't know if he's saying this to Kabuchimaru or to Sasuke, but he says that one must acknowledge their real self. That way, you wouldn't have to tell all of these lies, and you wouldn't have any comrades to help you, or to be able to look at your true self. Cut back to two leaf ninjas. One of them is healing the other, and it turns out that the healer was Urushi, one of Kabuto's childhood friends and so-called brother, back at the orphanage. And apparently he's still thinking about Kabuto, and he still thinks that Kabuto is still at that mission that Danzo ordered him to go. At first, I thought that this was supposed to be a flashback because we get to see the leaf headbands, but Urushi was talking about the war, and that he wants to go to bed, and he's still thinking about the curfew way back at the orphanage. So this is currently way back in one of the battlefields during the war, but shouldn't they be wearing the shinobi headbands, not the leaf headbands? I don't know, I thought that was a bit of a mistake that Kishimoto made. I don't know if it was really a mistake. But anyway, the chapter ends with now Itachi saying that he will stop the Edo Tensei. I gotta admit, this chapter, learning more, I gotta admit, this was a pretty decent chapter. The explanation and the diagrams at first were a little bit complicated, but once you read, I think you read it like twice, then you'll be able to understand how Izanami truly works. And learning about the origins of Izanami and how it is connected to Izanagi is actually interesting. I also like the fact that Itachi did sympathize with Kabuchimaru, but I didn't like the fact that Itachi was going to deactivate the Edo Tensei, because without the Edo Tensei, there's no more Edo Tensei Madara. And Edo Tensei Madara was pretty cool, and honestly, I was rooting for Kabuto, because he was an interesting character, and the flashbacks did help learn about him. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I kinda do. And without the Edo Tensei, that means that the Kages will survive against fighting Madara. And Madara is freaking badass. Now all the Edo Tensei zombies that were sealed, they're gonna be gone too. And all that's left is Zetsu and Toby. That'll be pretty much it. If it does deactivate, that means that the war will be almost over. But who knows? Maybe Kabuchimaru will acknowledge his true self and accept his mistakes to escape Izanami. But if he does escape Izanami, then will he be able to be an ally with Sasuke and Itachi, or will he just use this to escape Izanami and fight against the Uchiha brothers again? Who knows what might happen. But since Itachi is now going to be able to activate the Edo Tensei, that means we might be able to go back to one of the fights that has been going on for quite a while. I mean, it's been really long since we last saw Naruto and Toby, and I've been wondering what the hell happened. Also, the allied shinobi forces, all I know is that almost all of them were on their way to meet Naruto, so maybe we'll get to see them. Maybe we'll get to see Naruto and Toby fight. Maybe right before Edo Tensei is deactivated, we'll see a little bit more with the Kages and Madara, which is what I'm hoping. So for this chapter, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I did like the explanation. The explanation was a little bit complicated, but it was still, understandable. I did like learning the origins of Izanami and how it's connected to Izanagi. The conclusion to this fight, I will admit, learning that Izanami was activated ever since chapter 580, it irked me, because 7 chapters ago it was already activated, and we learned about Izanami at 581, so, yeah. But still, it was a pretty decent chapter. So, that's Naruto